9:03 on your Wednesday morning. Welcome back to the KIX 96.5 morning show. We love featuring artists you should know about. And today we're heading to Texas to chat with singer-songwriter Jeremy Parsons. Jeremy's based in San Antonio. He taught himself how to play guitar. After high school, he moved to Nashville for 10 years. Then he returned home to Texas. His latest album, Things to Come, came out in 2021. He's had 3 singles since, his most recent being Life Worth Dying For. We're excited to have Jeremy Parsons on the show. First, Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you just played South by Southwest like 10 days ago in Austin. How was that?
Is it already 10 days? I guess that's right, isn't it? Wow, time flies. It was awesome. It's something that I will say I limit myself to only about one show a year, unless something else comes up, because it's wild. It gets wild, and this year was even more so because everyone had spring break at the same time.
Oh wow!
So everybody was flocking to cities like Austin, Nashville, even the hill country, Fredericksburg was wild. But it was awesome. I love the experience of getting to share the stage, because the group before me was like a punk band that played the banjo, and the dude who played after me was a rapper. So you never know what you're going to get to experience, and I was wedged right in the middle of it, which universally would make no sense. But it's cool. It's a festival, and you never know what you're going to get to hear and what you're going to get to enjoy. So I love it. I love the experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. So you got to check some people out at least, or for the day.
yeah. That's actually one of the most fun things for me. I love going up there, and you never know who you're going to bring into your fan base by doing the show. It's a 45-minute set, all originals. So you try to play those as much as you possibly can, because a lot of the gigs, you want to infuse some covers so you don't lose people,
Yeah.
But they want to hear the original stuff, so we kind of flock to those gigs, and I love hearing other people's originals too, and you get to know people as an artist and as a person.
Yeah, for sure. South by Southwest, like you said, it's a trip every year, no matter what. Well, you grew up in Texas.
In multiple ways.
Yeah, you grew up in Texas. You have kind of a classic sound. I saw you. Is this true? You were adopted by your grandparents?
I was. Yeah, I was. Yeah. My birth mother is not the greatest person, so luckily she did the right thing there at least, and let her parents take me, and my dad was a huge fan of the classics and stuff, so I got spoiled with some really timeless, great music.
Well, and I think it's kind of molded your sound a little bit through the years. Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it does anybody, whatever setting you grow up in. We're sponges, especially when we're small. We're little human sponges, and as our brains grow, that is the sponge. So it whatever we absorbed, it becomes a part of our being, and that can be either good or bad. Like music is a great example, but what you witness in your home, is a whole different, that's a whole different bag to unpack. But the music is, it's very pivotal for all of us, especially those of us who turn into artists of any kind, whether it's like a poet or a painter. Music is usually right there at the forefront.
Yeah. Well, and you taught yourself guitar. Was this in high school? Because, I'm watching some videos of you. You're a great guitarist.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I play different. I play very uniquely, and I think that's because I taught myself. And it was in high school. Yeah, I was 17 years old. My parents had tried to get me lessons when I was 7, which I just don't recommend to do to any kid. Maybe the kids these days who like to stay indoors and stuff, but I was an outdoor boy. You couldn't, you just give me a stick and my imagination in a big backyard, and I was good to go. Like they tried to sit me in a chair and get me, his piano or a guitar, and guitar was portable, so I chose guitar, and I just couldn't do it. So there was a guitar sitting off to the side like my entire life, and when I was 17, I finally was like, I need a new hobby. And then I was like, come to me, new hobby. Where are you? And then the guitar. I was like, oh yeah, I have a guitar. I'll give that a shot. And so I did, and it just became a thing, I guess, as you could say. And I loved it, and we, bloodied my fingers together and got me all conditioned. And then from then on, it was like writing, and then it's like, well, let's see if I can take this out of my bedroom and do that confidently. And I did, and haven't stopped since. Really, it's been awesome.
Well, yeah, you went to Nashville. You tried the Nashville stint. If you go and look up Jeremy, holy cow, you had the doggonedest feeling, Jeremy.
Yeah,
you were trying to chase like the classic, like the traditional country. What were you doing in Nashville?
Oh, that's what. So that's what. When I started, that's what I was doing. My favorite writer, the first one that I heard that really was like, I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic, was Hank Williams Sr.
Yeah.
And I like on that record, there's a song called "The Night Hank Williams Died," and I was obsessed with the way with the way that he wrote, the way that he played, like his blues style of playing, like all of it was just like it just absolutely moved me. And then it got me into all the other old classic country stuff, like the Farron Youngs, the Johnny Hortons, and I love that stuff. I was writing that, and I took that to Nashville, and they loved it, and it was my identity for so long. And then I evolved, and I think you have to be open to that as an artist. There's I think five or no, maybe more than that. I think there's 5 to 7 years in between my first and my second record, in which I was just trying to like figure myself out, because I toured all, like, I got to open for George Jones, like I did a bunch of shows with guys like Jim Ed Brown and Helen Cornelius and Jimmy Fortune, Mo Bandy, Gene Watson, like all these classic country greats and stuff. And I got to go to Norway,
Wow.
and yeah, it was awesome. I got all these fantastic experiences, but like experiences for us as in people are to figure out if it's what we want for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not what we have to end up, where we have to end up staying or end up choosing. It's what, it's all the factors that help us decide. And there was certain bitterness in the community that I didn't really want to be a part of. It was like this lack of like, well, everything's changing around me, but I'm just going to be mad about it. And I was like, but that's the way it always goes. Like, I was like, we should be open to, evolving, naturally, like as people and within our music, because, if we change as people, the music usually changes with us because it's a part of us. But it was a fantastic experience, and I wouldn't change a thing, because obviously I can't. But like it got me to where I am now, and I'm grateful for every step. And like I said, opening for George Jones and other guys like that, it's once in a lifetime experiences.
Oh yeah. Well, and what it's molded you to now. I saw that you said like you were always chasing the next song, or it just didn't feel real, kind of back then.
Yeah, it was at a certain point it didn't feel like it was. I wasn't doing it for me anymore. And
Yeah.
granted, like, you're usually doing it for the fans anyway, and like they wanted me to stay there, but like I just wasn't happy. And I feel like I was just trying to make all these other people around me happy, like my management, and like, I was with the Hank Williams estate at that time, which was like a big dream of mine, working with like Jet Williams and stuff like that, and we were traveling everywhere. But it just didn't feel like me, like I had lost me somewhere, and I needed to step back and reset. So that's what I did, and it was a healthy choice. I'm happy.
Oh
So.
yeah. Well, do you still have the purple jacket from back then?
Oh, I still have that whole. Someone actually messaged me about that the other day. I still have that whole get up. It's a genuine Manuel. Like Manuel made that for me. He brought me in and fitted me and everything.
Oh,
So
it's
it's
slick.
a.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah, it better be, man. It's expensive.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap. Well, in one song, "Why Is the Bluebird Blue," made the cut. I mean, you're still playing it, and you were playing it back then. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that song. That's one of my favorites I've ever written. Yeah, that was on the. That ended up being on the second album.
yeah.
And it wasn't originally going to be. I had done a Kickstarter to fund that record, and I put it. We went over the. We got over our reach, and I was like, hey, I'll record one more song, and I had already put out the track listing, and if y'all can contribute this much more, and everyone said it was like, well, I'll contribute as long as the extra track is Bluebird. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my goodness, I can't believe I left that off there. I was like, oh yeah, of course. And so we did it. We got the extra money, and Bluebird ended up being at the track 13. So
Yeah, it's a great song. Go and check him out. He's at JeremyParsonsMusic.com. He's on Facebook, Instagram, X. He's on YouTube. Go check out all of his stuff. His latest single, "Life Worth Dying For," is also out now. Well, and what's going on with new music, Jeremy? Because you've had 3 singles since the last album. "Life Worth Dying For" was the third one. All the articles I read, it's like, oh, well, his next album, this is a single of his next album. Well, this has been like a year. Is new stuff coming? What's happening?
yeah. There's actually, I think there's like 3 more songs. I'd have to double check that. So we're just doing everything in single format, and
That's what
it'll
I figured.
eventually form an EP.
Yeah.
And then there's another EP on deck after this. Like we have all the songs demoed, so that this is y'all have 3 songs of what will essentially be a 28 song project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been slow and gradual because we just do it. I don't like forcing the music. I'm like I would love to have a track come out like every month and a half. That would be great, but like it's gotta feel right to me and my producer, and the artwork's gotta be synced up, and like we have all of these will be accompanied by an animated music video. So it's all a package deal, and we just want to make sure we do it right. But there is a new single. It's called "The Garden." It will be coming out sometime within the next couple months. But is the projection at least?
Okay.
It's very close to finished.
Yeah.
But yeah,
A lot
there's
more
a
stuff
4th
coming.
single on deck. Oh, absolutely.
Well, and I was going to ask you about your art because, man, the cover art on these last 3 singles is impressive. Who's doing this?
That's actually my little sister Skylar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's in college here in San Antonio, and I asked her if she would want to do it because like one of the things she does for the family for like birthdays and holidays and stuff or any type of celebration is she'll draw someone a picture of like either of themselves or like something they're interested in, and when she was doing that, I approached her. I was like, hey, would you want to do the single artwork, the album artwork? And she was like, oh, I'd love to. And I was like, well, it'd be a good. I like it because it's an opportunity. Because I've encountered a lot of people who paint or draw, and they feel weird about accepting money for their art because it's just something they do because they enjoy it. And I wanna show her like that'd be like me playing a show and not taking any money for it. It's my job, though.
Yeah.
I want to show her that she can make money with her talents. And so I enlisted her, and I was like, every time she does a single artwork, I throw her some cash and stuff. And she's a college student too, so that always helps out.
Exactly.
Pay the grocery bill and stuff.
Yeah. I saw, we played it earlier, Tickin', one of your recent singles. It's interesting. You said that when you went to write the song, and I think when you write music now, you sit down and look where we are, and you think, is where I thought I'd be? Or is this where I should be in my life? And you said the pandemic kind of did this to you. Is that still how we're looking at writing music?
Yeah, well, I mean, that time specifically, like, you didn't have anything else to do, so
No.
you might as well. Like that was that. I mean, like, I didn't like we could still do like radio interviews and stuff like this, but Facebook Lives were really weird. Like, you were really missing that, like, audience on stage interaction and, like, energy exchange that you get from the shows. It was just a time for, like, deep reflection. That's what I took it as, and so a lot of this stuff emerged, and I think it's always kind of been how I've written, but I think at that time it really highlighted it as it was a really an important part of my process. And I think it helps me really get to the core of things, like, and be able to, translate the human experience via song. Because I think that's what we're here to do. I think we're here to, like take a moment that, did something for us, or, like, resonated, and pitch that back to everybody who could find it, whether it's like 10 people or 10 million people. Like, whoever hears it, are they able to be like, wow, I connect with that. Like, that too is my experience. Like, I was like, oh wow, I feel like they're speaking to me, something like that. Or, like, that's what I needed to hear. Those moments are, like, the ones that I think mean the most to us as writers and singers, when people approach us at shows or just send us messages on social media and say that it, like, really touched them, and they appreciate, they're glad it was there to, like, find them. And I think that's so special.
Oh, yeah. And relating to your songs is huge. And your last three, I mean, we played two of them already, Tickin' and Humanity. Tickin' about, your clock ticking, and Humanity's about racism. And, I mean, it's amazing stuff. And Life Worth Dying For, we're going to hear here in a minute. We'll get Jeremy's take on that. But watching you do live shows, you are very interactive. You're telling stories. Are you still doing this when you're performing live?
Yeah, I try to. It really depends on the show. Like, you kind of have to just read the audience. Like, some people are there, like, just to hear music, and then there's the shows where people want you to give them, everything you have, and I do favor those shows. But, like, there's some times where, I'm just okay with being up there playing music too. So it's I'm happy either way, which is good, because it would be tough otherwise. But I do try to interact as much as even at the shows where people want music, I'll occasionally get, like, some tables or groups that'll come in, and I I'll read them as that type of crowd that wants that feedback and stuff. So I'll give it to them. But it's good to be able to do it. It's always good to have it in your pocket,
Yeah, no, it's great. Go to YouTube and check him out, Jeremy Parsons. He's at jeremyparsonsmusic.com. He's on Facebook, X. His latest single, Life Worth Dying For, is also out now. And it's Live for the Present, being content with the life you live. Tell us about the song, Jeremy.
It's actually, it's one of those things I've always, it's always been kind of like my mantra to, like, wake up every day and be like, am I content? Am I doing it right? Is this still the path? Am I on the right path? Are we, is everything synced up like it always has been? And it's always been a yes for me. And I think that's awesome. Like, my dad was very similar. He was in agriculture and, loved, horticulture, plants, like, dealing with, blue bonnets down here and stuff, and he's always very passionate about it, and, like, never had a day where he didn't love what he did, and seeing that in him, and still, like, I wanted that for me, and it eventually, like, I got to a point I was like, man, I want that for everybody. I that's something that I wish on everybody, wish for everybody. I think people deserve that. But it's part of the journey of, like, finding who you are and then finding what that is. So you have to do a little bit of extra work first before you get to the other. But like I wish it for everybody, and I think that's why I wanted the song to say what it did. Is like, it's, it's so important to me that, that be. I mean, because you live a happy life. I feel like I see people that have taken that journey and gotten to that point where they just like they age slower. That, you see the 60-year-old man who looks like he's in his 40s. It's interesting. Like there's something to it, psychologically, like physically, like there is it creates some kind of chemical that like sustains you longer because maybe because you're giving something back or like inspiring, or I don't know what that is, but it's something that I do wish for everybody, and that's why the song was so important to me to put out, and it seems like it really connected, which means a lot.
Yeah, one of his best singles to date. Life Worth Dying For. Here it is. Go check him out. Jeremy Parsons Music. If you're in Texas or anywhere around there, he's playing shows all over the place. Go and see him. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. This has been great. I appreciate you.
Life Worth Dying For. It's Jeremy Parsons. KIX 96.5.